7 times. That's how many times he was fired before building a business worth more than $200 million. Most people see a rejection letter as proof that they are not good enough. They see a termination notice as the end of a dream. But for one determined entrepreneur, every rejection became a lesson. Every setback became a stepping stone, and every failure became another brick in the foundation of an empire. His journey proves that success is not about avoiding failure, it is about refusing to let failure have the final word. As a young man, David dreamed of building a successful career. He came from an ordinary background with no wealthy relatives, no influential connections, and no special advantages. Like many people, he believed that if he worked hard, followed instructions, and stayed committed, success would naturally follow. Armed with ambition and determination, he entered the workforce expecting his dedication to open doors. Instead, he quickly learned that the path to success was far more complicated than he had imagined. His first job seemed promising. He arrived early, worked hard, and did everything he could to impress his managers. Yet after several months, he was called into an office and informed that the company no longer needed his services. The words hit him like a punch to the stomach. He walked out carrying his belongings, wondering how his best effort had still ended in failure. It was a painful experience, but he convinced himself it was only a temporary setback and that the next opportunity would be different. Determined to move forward, David found another position. This time he worked even harder. He stayed late, accepted extra responsibilities, and constantly searched for ways to prove his value. He believed that persistence and effort would guarantee success. However, months later, he found himself sitting across from another manager receiving another dismissal. Once again, he packed up his desk and left. The disappointment was even greater because he had genuinely believed he had done everything right. As the years passed, the pattern continued. Job after job ended the same way. Some employers felt he wasn't the right fit, others believed he lacked certain skills. In some cases, company restructuring eliminated his position entirely. By the time he had been fired 4 times, self-doubt began to creep into his mind. Friends quietly questioned whether he was pursuing the right career. Family members suggested safer options and encouraged him to lower his expectations. The constant criticism became difficult to ignore, especially because it echoed the fears already growing inside him. Despite the setbacks, David refused to stop trying. He continued applying for jobs, attending interviews, and chasing opportunities. Each rejection hurt, but he kept moving forward because he believed there had to be something better waiting ahead. During this period, he started noticing something interesting. Every company he worked for struggled with problems. Some had poor customer service. Others suffered from inefficient systems. Many ignored employee concerns or failed to adapt to changing markets. While most workers complained about these issues, very few people attempted to solve them. David became fascinated by understanding why businesses succeeded or failed. Then came the 5th firing. This one affected him more than the others because he had invested significant effort into the role. As he drove home after losing the job, he found himself asking a question that would change the course of his life. What if the problem wasn't that he was failing? What if he was simply trying to succeed in an environment that wasn't meant for him? The thought lingered in his mind for weeks. For years, he had spent his energy helping other people build their dreams. Perhaps it was time to focus on building his own. The idea of starting a business was exciting, but it was also terrifying. David didn't have a large bank account or investors waiting to support him. He didn't possess an elite business degree or years of entrepreneurial experience. What he did have was a collection of hard-earned lessons gathered from every job he had ever lost. He understood customer frustrations, management mistakes, operational inefficiencies, and employee concerns. More importantly, he had developed resilience through years of rejection. That resilience would become one of his greatest strengths. With limited savings and the determination to create something meaningful, David launched a small service business. The company operated from a tiny workspace that barely resembled a professional office. During the early months, he handled every task himself. He answered customer calls, managed finances, created marketing materials, completed deliveries, and solved problems whenever they appeared. There were no shortcuts and no guarantees. Every day felt like a test of his commitment. The first year was incredibly difficult. Revenue was inconsistent, expenses were constant, and growth seemed painfully slow. Some months he struggled just to cover operating costs. There were moments when he wondered if leaving traditional employment had been a terrible mistake. Competitors were larger, better funded, and more established. Potential customers often chose familiar companies instead of taking a chance on an unknown entrepreneur. The pressure was relentless, and many people would have walked away. However, years of rejection had prepared David for adversity. Unlike many entrepreneurs who become discouraged by failure, he had already survived setbacks that would have broken most people. When customers rejected his proposals, he adjusted his approach and tried again. When marketing campaigns failed, he analyzed the results and improved them. When opportunities disappeared, he searched for new ones. Each challenge became another lesson rather than a reason to quit. Gradually, things began to change. Customers noticed his commitment to quality and service. They appreciated the fact that he genuinely cared about solving their problems rather than simply making a sale. Positive experiences led to referrals, and referrals led to new business. Revenue started increasing. The company expanded its client base and gained a reputation for reliability. For the first time, David felt like he was creating something with long-term potential. As the business grew, he began hiring employees. His own experiences shaped the way he built the company culture. He remembered what it felt like to be treated as disposable. He remembered the anxiety that came with job insecurity and poor leadership. Determined to create a different environment, he focused on supporting employees, encouraging communication, and recognizing contributions. The result was a workplace where people felt valued and motivated. Employees became loyal advocates for the company, and customers benefited from exceptional service. Growth accelerated over the following years. The small startup evolved into a respected organization with multiple locations, larger contracts, and increasing revenue. New opportunities emerged as the company entered additional markets and expanded its offerings. The business that once struggled to survive was now attracting attention from industry leaders and investors. The same qualities that had caused friction in traditional workplaces, his willingness to challenge assumptions, question outdated methods, and think differently, became major advantages in entrepreneurship. There were still obstacles along the way. Economic downturns threatened profitability. Major deals occasionally collapsed without warning. Unexpected expenses created financial pressure. More than once, David feared losing everything he had worked so hard to build. Yet every challenge reminded him of the difficult years that came before. Compared to being fired 7 times and repeatedly starting over, business problems felt manageable. His ability to persevere became a competitive advantage that many rivals could not match. Eventually, the company reached a milestone that once seemed impossible. Analysts valued the business at more than $200 million. The achievement transformed David from a man known for repeated failures into a respected entrepreneur admired by peers and competitors alike. Media outlets celebrated his success, investors sought partnerships, and aspiring business owners looked to him for inspiration. To outsiders, the accomplishment appeared extraordinary. To David, it was simply the result of refusing to quit. Many people described him as an overnight success, but they failed to see the decades of struggle behind the headlines. They didn't see the rejection letters, the sleepless nights, the financial uncertainty, or the emotional toll of repeated failure. They only saw the destination, not the difficult journey required to reach it. What looked like sudden success was actually the result of years spent learning, adapting, and persevering. Looking back, David realized that every firing had taught him something valuable. One job taught him communication. Another taught him customer service. Another revealed the importance of leadership. Yet another exposed weaknesses in business operations. The lessons were painful at the time, but together they formed the foundation of his future success. What once seemed like evidence of failure eventually became preparation for greatness. His story carries a powerful message for anyone facing rejection today. Failure is not always a sign that you should stop. Sometimes it is a sign that you are being prepared for something bigger than you can currently see. The disappointments that feel devastating in the moment may eventually become the experiences that shape your greatest achievements. Every setback contains a lesson, every obstacle offers an opportunity for growth, and every rejection can become a stepping stone toward success. The man who was fired 7 times could have accepted defeat at any point along the journey. He could have listened to the critics, lowered his expectations, and settled for a life defined by disappointment. Instead, he chose persistence. He chose to keep moving forward when success seemed impossible. And in doing so, he built a business worth more than $200 million. His story stands as proof that rejection does not determine your future. Your response to rejection does.